You sit in a beautifully designed living room, looking frustrated yet determined, speaking to the camera. Imagine buying your dream home, only for your husband to decide his mom and sister should move in too. What would you do? I have a plan. And trust me, it's brilliant. Imagine buying your dream home, only for your husband to decide his mom and sister should move in too. What would you do? First, I was shocked. I had envisioned a peaceful, elegant space just for the two of us, a place where we could build our future together. But now I was facing the possibility of losing that privacy, that sense of control over my own home. I knew I couldn't just say no without causing a huge argument, but I also wasn't ready to let this happen. So I came up with a plan, subtle, strategic, and foolproof. A plan that would make sure my dream home stayed exactly that, mine. And the best part? My husband won't even realize what's happening until it's too late. Step 1, I played along. I didn't argue, didn't resist. I even pretended to be open to the idea. That way I wouldn't raise suspicion. Step 2. I started setting the stage. I made sure every inch of the house reflected my taste, my style, my rules. I filled the guest rooms with impractical, elegant furniture, beautiful, but far from comfortable for long-term stays. I subtly emphasized how minimalist and quiet our new life would be, making it clear that this wasn't a house designed for multiple families. Step 3. I planted the seed in my husband's mind. I casually brought up how his mom and sister might be more comfortable in a place of their own, somewhere nearby but not under the same roof. I mentioned how they might feel like guests, unable to fully settle in. Slowly but surely, he started seeing my perspective, without me ever having to fight for it. And just like that, my home remained exactly as I intended. A dream for us. Not a compromise for everyone else. But just in case my subtle hints weren't enough, I had a backup plan. I started making small but intentional changes, booking surprise getaways for my husband and me, emphasizing how much we needed our own space as a couple. I even reached out to a real estate agent and casually found a few rental options nearby that would be perfect for his mom and sister. I framed it as a thoughtful gesture, something that would make them feel independent while still being close. And when they started warming up to the idea, I sealed the deal, helping them settle into their new place while ensuring our home remained ours. In the end, my husband thought it was all his idea. No fights, no drama, just a well-executed plan. And as I sit in my dream home sipping my coffee in peace, I can't help but smile. Because sometimes the best way to win is to make them think they've won. Looking back, I realized this wasn't just about keeping my dream home the way I envisioned. It was about setting boundaries without confrontation. I learned that sometimes the most effective way to get what you want isn't through arguments or ultimatums, but through strategy and patience. By making my husband feel like he was making the decisions, I avoided resentment and kept our relationship intact. His mom and sister were happy in their own space. He felt like he had done the right thing for everyone. And I got exactly what I wanted, my peaceful, luxurious home, just as I had imagined it. In the end, it wasn't manipulation. It was simply understanding human nature and using it to create the perfect outcome for everyone involved. And as I stretch out on my designer couch, in the quiet, elegant space I worked so hard to protect, I know one thing for sure. Some victories don't need to be fought for. They just need the right plan. And the best part? No one suspected a thing. My husband was happy, thinking he had made the best decision for his family. His mom and sister felt independent and appreciated, settling into their own place without any hard feelings. And me? I was exactly where I wanted to be, living in my dream home, with the peace and privacy I had envisioned from the start. This experience taught me something important. Controlling the outcome doesn't always mean direct confrontation. Sometimes it's about guiding the situation in the right direction, step by step, until everything naturally falls into place. And as I walk through my home enjoying every quiet, beautiful corner, I can't help but feel a little proud. Because in the end, I didn't just keep my house, I kept my happiness. And that was the real victory. Now, every morning when I wake up in my perfectly curated home, I feel a deep sense of satisfaction. Not just because I got what I wanted, but because I did it without stress, fights, or drama. I realize that true power lies in influence, not control. By staying calm, thinking ahead, and setting the right narrative, I shape the outcome without ever forcing it. My husband still believes he made the decision on his own. His family is happy, and I'm exactly where I want to be. No resentment, no lingering tension. Just a beautifully executed plan that left everyone satisfied. And as I sip my coffee in the quiet luxury of my home, I know one thing for sure. Sometimes the smartest way to win is to let them believe they did. And that's the lesson I'll carry with me forever: strategy over struggle, patience over panic. In the end, it wasn't about manipulation or selfishness. It was about preserving the life I had envisioned while ensuring everyone else felt considered. It's easy to think that standing your ground means arguing, demanding, or fighting for control. But sometimes the most powerful move is the quietest one. A shift in perspective, a carefully placed suggestion, a gentle nudge in the right direction. That's all it takes to steer things exactly where you want them to go. So now, as I walk through the halls of my dream home, every detail just as I imagined, I know I didn't just protect my space. I mastered the art of getting what I want, without anyone even realizing it. And the beauty of it all? No one feels like they lost. My husband still sees himself as the caring son and brother who made the right call for his family. His mom and sister are comfortable in their own space, grateful for the thoughtful compromise. And me? I'm exactly where I intended to be from the start. Living in a home that is truly mine, in peace, without unnecessary conflict or resentment. This experience showed me that true influence isn't about forcing outcomes, it's about leading people to the conclusion you want them to reach on their own. And as I relax in my quiet, luxurious home, I smile, knowing that sometimes, the best plans are the ones no one even realizes were plans at all. And as I sit here now in the sanctuary I so carefully preserved, I find myself reflecting on the deeper lesson in all of this. It wasn't just about a house, it was about autonomy, about quietly shaping my world in a way that aligned with my vision. Because let's be honest, how often do we as women find ourselves compromising, bending, making space for everyone else at the expense of our own peace? Not this time. This time I learned to guide, not to resist, to persuade, not to demand, to build the life I wanted without tearing anything or anyone down in the process. And now every time I wake up in my serene, perfectly designed home, I remind myself, I am the architect of my own happiness. Would I do it again? Absolutely. In fact, I've realized that this quiet power, this ability to influence without conflict, is something I can use in all areas of life. Work, friendships, even marriage itself. Because in the end, control isn't about force. It's about direction. And trust me, I always know exactly where I want things to go. Smirks, sips coffee, and the screen fades to black. The screen fades back in later that evening. The house is dimly lit with warm golden light, the atmosphere serene, just as I always intended. I curl up on my designer couch, flipping through a book, when my husband walks in looking contemplative. Him. You know, I was thinking, it's actually kind of nice just the two of us here. Peaceful. I glance up, raising an eyebrow ever so slightly, but say nothing. Just a small knowing smile. Him. I mean, I love my mom and sister, of course, but I think they're happier in their own place too. It worked out perfectly, didn't it? Me. Bum. It really did. I take a slow sip of my wine, letting the moment linger. And there it is, the final confirmation that my plan had worked seamlessly. No figs, no pushak, no hizing menching. Just a natural conclusion that felt right to everyone involved. The kind of victory that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. As my husband sits down beside me, completely unaware of the careful orchestration behind it all, I rest my head against his shoulder. I could tell him the truth. I could let him in on the quiet strategy that led to this perfect outcome. But why would I? Some secrets are best left unspoken. Because sometimes the true art of winning is letting them believe they figured it out all on their own. Fade to black. The sound of soft jazz plays in the background. The perfect ending to the perfect plan. Late evening. The house is bathed in a warm golden glow, the kind of soft, ambient light that makes everything feel peaceful. Exactly as I intended. I sit curled up on my designer couch, flipping through a book, when my husband walks in looking thoughtful. You know, I was thinking, it's actually really nice just the two of us here. So quiet, so peaceful. He says as he sits down beside me. I glance up, offering only the faintest hint of a smile, saying nothing. I mean, of course I love my mom and sister, but I think they're actually happier in their own place. It all worked out perfectly, didn't it? He continues, and I simply take a slow sip of my wine, letting the moment linger. And there it is, the final note of my flawless plan. No fights, no resentment, no tension. Just a natural conclusion that feels right for everyone. The best kind of victory is the one that doesn't feel like a battle at all. He settles in beside me, blissfully unaware of just how carefully orchestrated every step had been, and I lean my head against his shoulder, allowing myself a single quiet thought. I could tell him. I could reveal every calculated move, every subtle shift, every well-placed suggestion that led us here. But why would I? Some secrets are sweeter when left unspoken, because the true art of winning is making them believe they made the choice themselves. The lights dim, soft jazz hums in the background, and as I sink deeper into the quiet comfort of my home, I savor the greatest reward of all: my perfect space, my perfect peace, and my perfectly executed plan. The lights cast a golden glow across the sleek, elegant living room, the air thick with the kind of quiet satisfaction that only comes from a well-executed plan. I sink into my designer couch, the fabric cool against my skin, and watch as my husband stretches out beside me, completely at ease. He still doesn't realize, still doesn't suspect a thing. You know, he murmurs, I think we really made the right call. Having them nearby but not here, it just works. I hide my smirk behind the rim of my wine glass, nodding ever so slightly. It really does, I reply, my voice light, effortless. He thinks it was his idea, that he guided us to this perfect outcome, and that's exactly how I wanted it. There's no resentment, no second-guessing, no lingering tension. Just a happy husband, a content extended family, and me, sitting in my dream home, exactly as I had envisioned it from the start. I take another slow sip of wine, savoring the taste, savoring the moment. Because this isn't just about winning. This is about mastering the game. About understanding that true influence isn't about force. It's about direction. A well-placed word here, a gentle suggestion there. A perfectly timed opportunity that shifts the perspective just enough to lead them exactly where you want them to go. And as the soft hum of jazz fills the air, as my home remains my sanctuary, untouched, undisturbed, I know one thing for certain. The smartest victories are the ones no one ever realizes were battles in the first place. I lean back, letting the satisfaction settle deep in my bones. Some people fight for control. I never had to. I simply guided it step by step until everything fell perfectly into place. And as the lights dim, the night stretching out before me in peaceful silence, I close my eyes and smile. Because in the end, the most powerful move is making them believe they played the game all on their own. The night wraps around my home like a silk ribbon. Smooth, effortless, exactly as I designed it to be. The warmth of the dimmed lights casts soft shadows across the room, highlighting every carefully curated piece of furniture, every elegant detail that belongs solely to me. I take a slow breath, letting the quiet settle over me like a luxury. Beside me, my husband stretches, completely content, oblivious to the delicate web of choices that brought us here. I really think we did the right thing, he says again, as if convincing himself. I let him. I want him to. It all worked out perfectly, he adds, a deep satisfaction in his voice. And it did, because I made sure of it. The beauty of true influence is that no one notices it's happening. No arguments, no ultimatums, no resistance. Just the art of redirection, a steady, subtle nudge in the direction I always intended. I swirl my wine glass, watching the deep red liquid catch the light. A perfect reflection of how smoothly everything has unfolded. He believes he made the decision, his mother and sister feel independent and cared for, and me? I'm right where I always planned to be, untouched, undisturbed. In a home that is mine in every possible way. I lean back against the cushions, feeling the weight of victory settle in my bones. Not the kind won through conflict, but the kind crafted through patience, precision, and an understanding of how the game is played. Because that's what life really is, isn't it? A game of influence, of unseen moves, of making sure the pieces land exactly where they should. And as the last notes of jazz hum softly in the background, as the night stretches forward in peaceful, uninterrupted silence, I close my eyes with a satisfied smile. Some people fight for what they want. I never had to. I simply let them think it was their idea all along. And that, I think to myself, is the real power. The world outside fades into the quiet hum of the night, but inside, everything is exactly as it should be: calm, curated, mine. The flickering glow of candlelight dances on the walls, casting soft, elegant shadows across the room. A reflection of the careful balance I've maintained. I take another slow sip of my wine, the taste rich and full-bodied, just like the satisfaction settling in my chest. My husband exhales, stretching lazily beside me, utterly at peace, blissfully unaware of the silent strategy that shaped this outcome. He believes he steered us here, that this was the natural, inevitable choice because that's how I designed it. I glance at him, my expression serene, offering nothing but a gentle nod. I really think this was the best decision, he murmurs, more to himself than to me. And I let the words hang in the air, knowing they are the final confirmation that every subtle move, every carefully placed suggestion, every effortless redirection led us here without resistance. No fights, no guilt, no lingering tension. Just the quiet, unshakable certainty that everyone is exactly where they need to be. His mother and sister, happily settled in their own space, feeling independent yet supported. Him, proud of his role as the thoughtful son and husband, never realizing he was never truly in control of the choice. And me, sitting in the heart of my dream home, untouched by compromise, my vision fully intact. Because true power isn't about force. It isn't about winning a battle. It's about ensuring there's no battle to begin with. It's about understanding people, guiding them without them ever realizing they're being guided. And as the last notes of jazz drift through the air, as I lean back into the perfect stillness of my sanctuary, I allow myself one final thought. Some people fight for control. Others, like me, simply set the stage so the outcome was never in question. And that, I know with absolute certainty, is the difference between those who struggle and those who always quietly get exactly what they want. The night feels still, wrapped in the kind of luxurious silence that only comes when everything has fallen into place exactly as it should. The soft flicker of candlelight reflects in my wine glass, the rich crimson swirling gently as I take another slow sip, savoring the taste, savoring the victory. My husband sits beside me, stretched out in quiet contentment, convinced that this life, this peace, was always the natural outcome. Honestly, he murmurs as if the thought has just occurred to him, this was the best thing for everyone. I can't imagine it any other way. I simply smile, letting him believe that. Letting him own the decision I led him to. Because that's the secret, isn't it? The best plans don't feel like plans at all. They unfold so seamlessly that no one even questions how they came to be. His mother and sister feel independent and respected, grateful for the thoughtful solution he provided. He feels like the responsible, caring husband who balanced everyone's needs. And me? I sit here untouched by sacrifice, wrapped in the perfection of a life I refuse to compromise. No resentment, no second-guessing, just the quiet assurance that I never had to fight for what I wanted. I simply ensured that it became the only logical conclusion. Because power isn't in the argument. It's in the direction, the careful nudge, the invisible influence that shapes the outcome without force. I glance around my home, every detail reflecting my vision, my taste, my intention. The art of winning isn't about demanding control. It's about letting them believe they were never controlled at all. And as the final notes of jazz whisper through the air, as the night stretches out in uninterrupted tranquility, I close my eyes and smile. Some people battle for what they want. I never needed to. Because in the end, the smartest victories are the ones no one even realizes were won. The night embraces my home in a soft golden glow, the flickering candlelight casting delicate patterns across the walls, my walls. Every inch of this space, every carefully chosen detail, every quiet, uninterrupted moment is mine, just as I intended. I take a slow sip of my wine, the taste rich and full, the kind of indulgence that lingers. Beside me, my husband exhales deeply, stretching in quiet satisfaction, his expression completely at ease. He still doesn't see it, doesn't recognize the precision with which this outcome was crafted. And that's exactly how I planned it. Honestly, he murmurs, more to himself than to me. I can't imagine things any other way. It's perfect like this. A small smile tugs at my lips, but I don't respond. I don't need to. Let him believe it was his idea. Let him feel the certainty of a decision, that was never really his to begin with. That's the beauty of it all. No resistance, no conflict, just a steady, seamless unfolding of events that led him exactly where I needed him to be. His mother and sister, happily settled in their own space, feeling independent, cared for. Him, proud of his role as the thoughtful, decisive husband and son. And me here, untouched by compromise, wrapped in the serenity of a home that remains entirely my own. Because real power isn't in control. It's in the illusion of choice. It's in the gentle redirection, the perfectly placed suggestion, the effortless way a plan takes shape without ever feeling like a plan at all. No battles, no ultimatums, just a slow, inevitable shift toward the only possible conclusion. And as I sink deeper into my designer couch, my fingers tracing the stem of my wine glass, I glance around my dream home. Untouched, unaltered, and disturbed. This isn't just victory. This is mastery. And as the final notes of jazz hum softly in the background, as the night stretches out before me in pure, uninterrupted peace, I close my eyes and smile. Because in the end, the greatest triumphs aren't fought for. They're orchestrated. The air is thick with the warmth of quiet satisfaction. The kind that settles deep in your bones when everything has aligned exactly as you envisioned. The flickering candlelight casts golden ripples across the sleek surfaces of my living room. The soft hum of jazz curling around me like silk. I take a slow sip of my wine, letting the moment stretch, letting the weight of victory settle in a way that no one but me will ever truly understand. My husband shifts beside me, his body relaxed, his mind at ease, completely unaware of the delicate web of intention that guided him here. You know, he says, his voice laced with certainty, this was really the best decision for everyone. His words are effortless, unguarded, as if the thought came to him organically, and maybe in his mind it did. I don't correct him. I don't need to. I simply let the satisfaction bloom in my chest as I offer a quiet, knowing smile. Let him own the choice. Let him believe he arrived at it on his own. That's the beauty of it. True influence is invisible. No fights, no forced compromises, just a perfectly placed suggestion here, a carefully framed perspective there, until the path he believes he chose leads exactly where I wanted it to go. His mother and sister are happy, settled in their own space, feeling independent yet supported. He feels accomplished, like a man who has done right by his family. And me? I remain here, untouched by sacrifice, in a home that is entirely mine. Because control isn't about force, it's about direction. A nudge instead of a demand. A whisper instead of a shout. A seamless shift so natural that no one even realizes they've been guided at all. As I lean back into the cushions, the quiet elegance of my surroundings wrapping around me like a dream made real, I let my eyes drift close for just a moment, savoring the stillness. This isn't just a win. This is art. And as the final notes of jazz fade into the night, as the world outside continues on, unaware of the masterpiece I've just completed, I take one last sip of my wine, my lips curling into the faintest smile. Because in the end, the greatest victories aren't seized. They're sculpted. The night outside is dark and still. But inside, my home glows with the warm, golden light I so carefully curated. Every element, from the soft jazz playing in the background to the scent of the expensive candle burning on the coffee table, is exactly as I envisioned. Perfection. Peace. Mine. I stretch my legs out, the silk of my robe cool against my skin, and sip my wine with deliberate slowness, savoring the deep, full-bodied taste. My husband, oblivious to the silent symphony I orchestrated, leans back beside me, his expression one of pure contentment. You know, he says, his voice casual, thoughtful. I really think we made the right choice. It's nice just the two of us here. Peaceful. I glance up, letting my gaze linger on him for a moment before offering the smallest, most knowing of smiles. I hum noncommittally, swirling my wine. It really is. And there it is. The final note in my perfectly played melody. A conclusion so seamless, so natural, that he believes it was always meant to be this way. That it was his decision all along. I don't need to tell him otherwise. I don't need to let him in on the gentle maneuvers, the delicate recalibrations, the whispers of persuasion that led us here. Because the true art of influence isn't in the argument, It's in the direction. It's in the carefully placed breadcrumbs, the effortless redirections that make them believe they arrived at the conclusion themselves. His mother and sister, now comfortably settled in their own space, feel grateful, independent, respected. He feels accomplished, like a man who made a wise, considerate decision for everyone involved. And me? I sit here, undisturbed, untouched by compromise, exactly where I wanted to be from the start. I take another slow sip of my wine, letting the moment stretch, letting the satisfaction settle deep in my bones. Because in the end, power isn't about control. It's about persuasion, about leading people, not pushing them, about making them believe they wanted what you wanted all along. The candle flickers, casting soft shadows on the walls. The music hums low, the night wrapping itself around my perfect, untouched sanctuary. And as my husband sighs in quiet contentment beside me, I lean back against the cushions, close my eyes and smile. Some people fight for control. I never had to. Because the smartest victories? They never feel like battles at all. If this video hurt you, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to those who will understand.